everyone. Very good morning. My name is Prashant. I welcome you all to AWS Architect Training by Edureka. Guys, can you quickly confirm if my voice is audible and is my screen visible to all of you? Yes, fantastic. So many people already confirming. Great. So we will wait for another 2 to 3 minutes and then we'll start with our today's session. Okay. All right. Everyone, once again, a very good morning. My name is Prashant. I welcome you all to AWS Architect Training by Edureka. Guys, those who have just joined in, can I have your quick confirmation? Am I audible? Fantastic. Thank you so much for the quick confirmation. I hope you all had a great weekend, right? So today we are going to get started with the module 8, where we will discuss about different application services on AWS. In our last week's session, we closed our session with understanding networking on AWS. And I strongly do believe that you guys had practiced the same during weekend and you were able to understand the concepts much better, right? So now we will start with our module 8. Module 8 is all about application services on AWS and about AWS Lambda. So module 8 is all about these two topics, application services and AWS Lambda. So to start our discussion with, let us understand what are the application services which we are going to discuss as part of this session. So there are four major application services. There are four major application services. You have simple email service, simple notification service, simple queue service, simple workflow service, right? These are the four major services which we are going to discuss as part of our today's session. Now to start with, simple email service. To start with, simple email service. Let's assume that you are an organization which is into e-commerce business and every week you are releasing some or other offers on your e-commerce platform. You want to send emails to your customers, promotional emails or marketing emails or advertisement emails to your customers. So first, help me understand, are you gonna onboard all your customer emails on your email infrastructure where you have your employees email records and all of that? Are you going to keep all your customer email database on the same mail exchange records where you have your employees email records and all of that? Yes or no? Let's be quick. Obviously no. Obviously no, right? Because your employees record or the email used by your employee is different from your customer database. So you cannot have same infrastructure for your organizational email and your customer databases. So ideally in this kind of setup, what happens is you have one setup to manage and maintain all your customer emails and stuff, and you have another setup to manage your organizational email records. Yes or no? Normally that's how it works. Agree with me? Right? So when we talk about SCS, it is not referring to your organization emails. It is not referring to your employee email exchange and records. It is referring to, as an organization, if you want to send bulk emails for the purpose of marketing, promotional events, activities, advertisements, and all of that. So rather than setting up a dedicated email infrastructure, you can rely on this Amazon simple email services, where it removes the need for you to have a dedicated SMTP server email infrastructure and management. The underlying email infrastructure in this case would be managed by AWS. You as an organization will only pay for number of emails which you send and receive, and you can integrate with various AWS services. So the advantage of using SES, it will reduce the entire complexity of building an in-house email solution and installing or operating a third-party email solutions. You only pay for the messages here which you send and receive. Use case, as I was telling, the digital marketing organizations, application developers, and online retailers. Why use SES? It allows you perform content personalization. You can define your own messages. Email delivery, is email delivered or not, can be monitored. Email delivery can be monitored. Reliable email delivery, because it has in-house content filtering, which will ensure that if your email has any such content which might block your email at ISP level, at your internet service provider level, it will give you a warning with this in-house content filtering. Seamless integration, it can be easily integrated with various AWS services. Cost effective, you don't have to spend your money to manage and maintain infrastructure, neither you have to spend your manpower to manage and maintain this email infrastructure. It is completely managed by AWS. When you send an email using SES, there are three possible scenarios that can take place. There are three possible scenarios that can take place. You send an email, receiver receives a message. There is no further action needed. You send an email, recipient's mailbox does not exist. Then it will send a bounce notification to your SES, and SES indeed will send you a bounce notification telling that, hey, this user's email address is either wrong or this mailbox does not exist. Please remove this email address from your database. Then the third option, you send an email, recipient feels that your email is spamming his mailbox. So recipient marks that email as a spam. The moment he marks that email as a spam, it will register a complaint with ISP, and ISP indeed will keep SES informed, and SES indeed will keep you informed that, boss, this user feels that you are spamming the mailbox. Please stop doing that. Please stop doing that. Are we all clear till here? Everyone? Great. You can also receive emails using SES. Now, what could be a scenario for receive? Receive is nothing but a lot of product these days you purchase. At the rear side of the product, it is written on the packet itself, for any complaints or suggestions, feel free to write to us at customer support at xyz.com kind of thing. Yes or no? Have you noticed that? At the rear side of the product packet itself, it is written, for any complaints, any suggestions, and all of this, please write to us at customer support at xyz.com. So that is an example of receiving an email. So to receive an email from an external world, that is from an internet, you should first verify your domain. You should publish your mail exchange records. You should give permissions to SES to integrate with various services. You can define IP address filtering, and you should define read receipt rule. Receipt rule will define what needs to be done with email once it is received. So the flow of receiving an email would be something like this. It will refer to the active receipt rules. If there are not any matches, it rejects that email. If it finds that it needs to be dropped, it will drop that email. Then it will perform virus check, and then it will accept that mail from recipient in your domain, and post that it will do the task as applied in the rule. This is a scenario where you receive email from an external world. Guys, are we all clear? Okay, Narayan, which part do you want me to repeat? Narayana, I'm sorry, I just saw your question here. Which part do you want me to repeat? In the beginning, right from the start is what you're referring to? Understand SCS in a very simple term is a service when you want to send bulk emails. Obviously, you cannot have your user emails, that is your employee's email, and your customer email in the same mail exchange server. So, just for sending this bulk email, you need not set up a dedicated infrastructure. And you need not take overhead of managing and maintaining that dedicated infrastructure. Instead, you can leverage this particular service called SES. Using SES, you can send bulk emails and you can also receive email. Are we clear? That is the purpose of SES in a very layman language. Clear now? It is similar to Outlook. In a way, yes. Outlook is an application. It is similar to your SMTP server. In your on-premises, you'll have a SMTP server. So SES is kind of replacing your SMTP server. Outlook is an application which you integrate with your SMTP server to send and receive emails. Outlook is UI, okay? But all of the other details of your domain and everything is configured on your SMTP server. So this is removing the need of having an SMTP server for your sending bulk emails and all of that. Are we clear, everyone? Common use cases, as I was telling, marketing emails. You want to send some transactional emails, you want to send some notifications, or you want to receive. These are common use cases of your SES. Now, SES has its own limitations. It can accept messages up to 10 MB in size. It does not allow executable files like your .exe, .com, .cmd, .scr and all of that. Right? Maximum number of recipients per email is 50 recipients per messages, and maximum number of identities you can verify is 10,000 identities. These are nothing but 10,000 user emails. So this is the default limit. However, you can request for quota increase, and this limits can change. Guys, are we all clear? Please remember, this is not, the end of it. This is the default limit. However, if you want more than this, you can request for quota limit increase. 10,000 identities means 10,000 user emails. Is there any reason why it is not allowing .exe, .c, .com, .command files? Because this can contain viruses. These are your executable files. This can have malwares, this can have viruses. So to ensure no one can send malwares or no one can inject malwares and viruses, that is why it does not allow. Identities and recipient difference. Identity is nothing but enrolling you. I'm adding your email address, so your identity is registered. Recipients is when I want to send some message and I'm intending to send it to you, so you're a recipient. Am I making sense? That is your SES. Next is your SNS. SNS is nothing but your simple notification service from AWS. Pawan, are we not clear? Pawan Kumar, can I have quick confirmation? Any questions? So in last 1 minute, we were only talking about the limitations, like the maximum message attachment can be including attachment. The maximum message size is 10 MB. It does not allow attachments like your .exe, .com, .cmd, .scr, etc. because this can be your executable files and can have malwares and viruses. To ensure your infrastructure is malware and virus free, it does not allow this kind of attachments. Maximum number of recipients per message is 50 recipients per message, and maximum number of identities that you can verify is 10,000 identities per region, and this is the default limit. Okay, identity is nothing but I add your email address. So your identity is registered with me. Now I am sending some email and I am intending to send that email to you, so you are a recipient. I can have 10,000 records, but out of 10,000 I want to send that email to some 10 people only. So you are the recipient if your email address is included in that. Am I making sense? Pawan, are we clear? Cool. So now moving on to the next part of discussion, which is your SNS. SNS is nothing but your simple notification service from AWS. It works on pub/sub method. It works on pub/sub method. Now, what is your pub/sub method? I'll explain in very simple terms. Pub/sub method is nothing but your publisher subscriber mechanism. Publisher subscriber mechanism. Now, how many of you guys are aware about what is your pub/sub method before I start discussing? No? All right. Majority says no. All right, not a problem. I'll explain in very simple language so that all of you understand what is your pub/sub method. Everyone uses YouTube here. Everyone uses YouTube here. Obviously, yes. Right? So, in YouTube, if you are aware, there is something called as channel. In YouTube, there is something called as channel, and you can subscribe to channel. Yes or no? Now, help me understand one thing, my dear friends. What do you think is the purpose of having a channel in YouTube? Why YouTube has something called as channels? Publicity? Not really. So can I say the channel is just to ensure? Imagine if there was no channel. Imagine if there is no channel. I had some 10,000 users who had watched my previous video. How do I reach out to these 10,000 users? Whenever I have a next video, one of the option is I send emails to all these 10,000 users. Hey, my new video is out. Please go look into it. But do you think sending out emails to 10,000s and thousands of users, do you think it is possible? Every time you upload a new video, sending an email to 10,000s of users, do you think it is really possible? No, right? It becomes very difficult task. It becomes very difficult task. Agree with me, everyone? So YouTube came up with this concept of channels. Now what they give with this channel is, they say channel will be one common medium where the one who is creating any videos or all of that, they should upload their video files to this channel. And once it is uploaded, people who have opted to subscribe to this channel, they would be notified. Whenever there is a new video uploaded on this channel, people who have subscribed to this channel will be notified. Do you agree that's how it works? So as a publisher, I need not send an email to individual user. Rather, I upload my content to my channel, and all the users who have subscribed to my channel will automatically get a notification. This is called as pub/sub method. So the person who is uploading this video file is called as publisher, and the person who are intending to receive notification, these are called as subscriber. And this channel is an intermediate area where your publisher and subscriber interact with each other. Are we all clear? That's how YouTube works, right? Anyone has any question before I move forward? Any questions? Guys, your quick response would help me to understand that you're along with me and I can move forward. Thank you. So your SNS is also pretty much like this. Your SNS works pretty much in a similar fashion. Pay attention. Okay. But here, instead of channel, replace this channel with something called as topic. Replace channel with topic and you will understand how it works. So basically, for any kind of notification in your infrastructure, let's say your machine CPU utilization going high, or there is new upload on your AWS infrastructure, S3 bucket or something, any changes basically in your infrastructure. For that, if you want to receive a notification, then you can leverage on this particular service called SNS. You can leverage on this particular service called as SNS. So here you need to create something called as topic. You need to create something called as topic. So let's name this topic as sample. This is your SNS dashboard. Let's name this topic as sample. Say next step. So there are two orders in which your notifications can be processed. There are two orders in which your notifications can be processed. Notifications which are received by different services can be processed in first out or standard format. First in, first out is nothing but the sequence or the order in which the notifications are received from different services. The processing will happen in the same sequence. That is your first in, first out order. Standard is when you don't have any fixed sequence. That is where you go with your standard. Right? So, your topic is like your channel in your YouTube. You create your topic. Onto this topic, people can subscribe and people can publish. When I say people, I'm referring to your organizational infrastructure can publish messages. Okay. So I say create topic. Once topic is created, any users can subscribe to this topic, and those who have subscribed will get notification whenever there is a new message published by users. Whenever there is a new message published by user. So this is my topic. Pay attention. I have created a topic. So this is my topic. On to my topic. Right now, there is no subscription. Unlike YouTube, it will not have a subscribe icon. You click on it and you will get subscribed. Here, you have to define a lot of details. Say create subscription. Say create subscription. The moment you click on create subscription, it will allow you to decide which protocol. So subscriber can receive notification in an SMS format on their mobile phones or a push notification on their mobile phone using their own custom application, or notification can be sent to your HTTP or HTTPS endpoint as your HTTP messages, or email in a JSON format, normal email, AWS Lambda, AWS SQS, Kinesis Firehose. These are the possible options or possible protocols. Depending on your business requirement, you can choose any. Right now, I'm selecting email. So I should provide my email address here. I should provide my email address here. And I should say create subscription. So my subscription is added. But just adding subscription wouldn't be enough. It will say pending confirmation. So after you add your email address, you will receive an email in your mailbox asking, hey, are you intentionally subscribing to this topic? Are you sure you want to subscribe to this topic? So that it only sends notifications those who intend to subscribe to this topic. So allow me one moment while I am logging into my Gmail box. So you notice this. I received this email some 0 minutes ago, right? You have chosen to subscribe to this particular topic. To confirm your subscription, click on the link below. I've clicked it and it says subscription confirmed. Come back here. It was saying pending confirmation. Now it will say confirmed. Now it will say confirmed. So now my topic is created. My topic is created and I have a subscriber added to that topic. I have a subscriber added to that topic. Now I can integrate with any AWS service to send notification. I can integrate with any AWS services to send notification. Are we all clear with this so far, everyone? Yes. Great. So next, what I'm doing is I select this bucket. Let me delete some existing data. Can this service be used to notify about the status of different services? Absolutely, yes. That's what I'm coming to. So you come to your properties section. Let's delete the existing one. Good. So I say create event notification. Create event notification. I'll say it as demo. Name of the notification. So I want to receive notification whenever there is a new object added in my S3 bucket. Whenever there is a new object added in my S3 bucket, I want to receive notification. And here you notice I'm not going to choose individual user address. I'm just selecting the topic. So all the users who have subscribed to this topic will get notified. All the users who have subscribed to this topic, they will get notified. So pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. I have this bucket. Now if I upload a file onto this bucket, now if I'm adding a file, let's call this file itself. The moment upload is done, I received a notification from Amazon SMS. The moment notification is done, I received a moment upload is made, I received a notification from Amazon SNS telling that on your demo bucket, you have added a file called new CFN. The size of that file is this. All those details. Am I making sense? When do you configure to get notified? I can use different conditions. I want to get notified when someone deletes some file. I want to get notified when someone adds some file. I want to get notified whenever someone makes some changes. So depending on my business requirement, I can define any of these conditions. Right now I've chosen when someone adds anything, I should get notified. And that's what the moment I uploaded a file, it has sent an SNS notification. Where to configure it? Go to your properties section on your S3, scroll down. You have something called as event notification. Say create event notification, and here you will have a choice. Add, delete, restore, all of this. And here you can select SNS topic and receive notification. Guys, are we all clear with SNS part on how it works? Can I have quick confirmation? Any doubts? How to interact SNS versus S3? What is that question? I'm sorry, I did not understand. When you say how to interact, so I just showed you how you integrate. I think your question is more to do with integration of S3 and SNS. So that's what I showed you. That's what we had demo for, right? I integrated my SNS with my S3. So this is what your SNS was, we just discussed. You can have a topic, publisher will publish a message and subscriber will get notified. As I said, you can have your custom application integrated and you can receive push notifications. So next, moving on to the next part of discussion, where policies to set in S3, I did not understand which policy, Narayana. So under your properties, you have an option called as event notification. Then you define whether you, whenever it is uploaded, that time you want to receive notification, or whenever it is deleted, at that point of time you want to receive notification. So you define all of this here. Yes. Everyone, are we clear? Can I move forward with the next part of discussion, which is your SQS? Now, SQS, how to enable subscription in SNS? Guys, I just showed that as well. All you have to do is go to your topic. On your topic, you should say create subscription. That's how you define your subscription. Any confusions around it? Should we select protocol? Absolutely. As I said, it supports multiple protocol. You should select protocol. Whether you want to receive notification in email format or in a SMS notification, or you want to send notification to some HTTP or HTTPS endpoint. So you should define that. Next is your SQS. SQS is nothing but your simple queuing service from AWS. SQS is nothing but your simple queue services from AWS. Right? Now, when do you go with your SQS kind of services? When do you go with your SQS kind of services? So basically, whenever you have distributed application components, that is where you go ahead and use SQS kind of services. Now, what your SQS is? SQS, in a very simple term, is like your conveyor belt in your airport. Now, I want to understand from you guys, what is the purpose of having conveyor belt in your airport? Everyone. What is the purpose of having conveyor belt on airport? I want everyone to quickly respond. I'm not asking anything technical. In a very layman language, help me understand, why do you think we have this conveyor belt in airport? Right? Supply luggages, to transfer luggages from flight to the customer, streamline the luggages transfer. What else? Okay, now help me understand, if there is no conveyor belt in airport, how things would work. If there is no conveyor belt in airport, what kind of problems can it lead to? All has to carry their own luggages. Manual task. What else? Can I say if there is no conveyor belt in airport, basically the airline authorities should have their own dedicated counter where all the people should stand in a queue and collect their luggages? Yes or no? That's how it would be, right? So, your conveyor belt in an airport, can I say it is nothing but your temporary parking of your luggages? Your conveyor belt is nothing but temporary parking of your luggages, removing dependency between airline authorities and the passengers. Once passenger board down from the flight, they need not depend on airline authority. Airline authority's job is only to ensure that the luggage is put up on the conveyor belt. Now, airline authorities need not stand and confirm that, hey, did Prashant receive his luggage or not? Agree with me? That is the whole purpose of having a conveyor belt. So dependency between airline authority and the passenger, can I say it is reduced? The time taken to do the processing is reduced. A lot of manual task is reduced. Yes or no? Everyone agrees? Just like how your conveyor belt is temporary parking of your luggages, similarly your SQS is temporary parking of your messages. So let's understand this with a very simple example. So I have this paint diagram put up here. Let's assume that I have an e-commerce application. In my e-commerce application, what happens? User first select the product. He cannot directly he cannot directly make payment for that product. Yes or no? In any e-commerce website, if you take, as a user, if you want the product, you cannot directly make payment for that product. You have to first add that product to your cart. You add a product to the cart. The moment you add that product to the cart, you will have an option to make payment. So you click on make payment and it will redirect you to your payment gateway. It will redirect you to the payment gateway. Once you make payment, your payment is successful. Then your payment gateway will generate a new message telling that payment successful. Now this payment successful message is consumed by your order generation tool and it will provide you an order ID. It will provide you with order ID. It will take this payment successful message and it will provide an order ID. Now this order ID is picked up by the vendor. Vendor will check his stock and confirm if the product is available. If the product is available, vendor says product available, schedule pickup. So once vendor confirms this, your delivery partner is notified. Delivery partner then schedules the pickup, right? Saying that pickup scheduled, notifying the vendor. Then delivery agent picks up the product. Delivery agent picks up the product and sends a status update that product picked up, and then delivers a product and sends a notification that product delivered. That's how your e-commerce website works. Yes or no? Everyone, the flow which I have given, agree with me, that's how your e-commerce websites work. Now in this scenario, now in this entire scenario, can I say there are multiple distributed application component? Payment gateway is there, vendor has their own interface, delivery partner has their own method, delivery agent has their own mechanism. Yes or no? There are various distributed application component to complete one order life cycle. So imagine if there was no conveyor belt. Imagine if this conveyor belt did not exist. Then can I say payment gateway will be dependent on order generation tool continuously? Now, if order generation tool is down, eventually, can I say my payment gateway will also go down? If there was no conveyor belt, if order generation tool is down, then my payment gateway will also go down. User will not be able to make payment. Agree with me? If there is no queue, this queue, if it does not exist, and this payment gateway is directly talking to order generation tool, or every component here is directly talking to each other, then can I say if one of the component goes down, the entire infrastructure would be impacted? Yes or no? Obviously, yes. Agree with me, everyone? It will make every component interdependent on every other component. It will make every component interdependent on every other component. So to avoid this interdependency and to ensure your application is not tightly coupled, rather it is loosely coupled, right? We have this SQS kind of setup where if payment gateway has done its job, just drop that message in the queue. Whenever this order generation tool is ready, it will pick up this message from the queue and do the processing. So kind of interdependency between the components, can I say it is removed? Yes or no? That's your SQS. That's your SQS. As I say, it's a simple queue service. Producer sends a message to the queue. Message is distributed across SQS servers for the purpose of redundancy. Consumer will consume that message from queue whenever he is ready to process it. No interdependency. No interdependency. As a producer, I'll publish my message. Whenever you are available, you will pick it up and you will work on it. I need not wait for you to do processing immediately. And after processing, the message is deleted from the queue to avoid duplication or getting it processed once again. There are two types of polling which is possible. Consumer can poll this queue to see if there are messages or not. So there are two types of polling is possible. One is your short polling, another one is your long polling. Short polling, consumer checks the queue for the message. If there are no messages, it returns an empty message. That is your short polling. Long polling, consumer checks the queue for message. If there are no messages, it waits till there is a new message generated and then move forward. That is your long polling. For example, I ask you, hey guys, are you clear? I don't wait for you to respond. Even if you don't respond, I keep moving forward. That is your short polling. Or the other scenario is, I ask you, hey guys, are you clear? And I wait till you respond. And then I move forward. That is your long polling. Are we all clear till here? Everyone? Yes? Any confusions, doubts, queries, something which you're still not clear? Then please do let me know. SQS also has an option to define visibility timeout. Visibility timeout is nothing but how long a message is visible to you as a user. How long that message is visible to you as a user. You can define, like very common example could be If you have taken Ola or Uber ride, if you have taken your Ola or Uber ride, then you must have noticed while the driver is completing the current ride, he gets a notification on his mobile screen telling that there is a new ride available. Would you want to take that? Have you noticed that kind of setup? Driver is already running a current ride and he gets a notification about a new upcoming ride. Yes or no? Notice this kind of scenarios. And this notification will be available, or the driver will have a choice to accept that ride only for 30 seconds. Within 30-45 seconds, 30 seconds or 45 seconds, if the driver does not accept that ride, can I say that notification will go on to the next driver? Yes or no? So that is a visibility timeout. That is a visibility timeout. How long that message will be visible for that consumer to consume? So driver gets a notification that there is a new ride. Would you wish to take? Now, if driver does not respond in 30 seconds, 45 seconds, then this ride option goes to the next driver. And if the next does not exist, next driver does not accept, then to the next one and so on. So this is called as visibility timeout, right? So if there are certain messages which cannot be processed because of some errors, so those kind of messages are put up in a separate queue, and that is called as dead letter queue. Certain messages which are not processed, right? They can be filtered out and put up in a separate queue. That is called as dead letter queue. So SQS features, it is reliable, message matching is possible, scalable, flexible, can fan out notifications, and can hold messages. And even here, you have those two types of queue, standard queue and first in, first out. Pretty much the same thing, the order or the sequence in which the messages are processed, right, is what defined using this queue. You have first in, first out, and you have standard. First in, first out has limitation of processing 3000 transaction per second, whereas in standard there is unlimited transaction per second. First in, first out will preserve the order. Standard will not preserve the order. First in, first out ensures your message is only processed once. In standard, it ensures that your message is processed at least once. When you say depth of queue, it is not depth of queue. I think you're referring to dead letter queue. Is that the requirement? Dead letter queue. Dead letter queue is nothing but, let's say at times when you try processing, when you try placing some order on Amazon, or you try placing order on some e-commerce platform, you must notice that your transaction does not go through and it fails, right? So can I say it's an error notification? Yes or no? You were trying to make payment, that payment did not succeed, or for some other reason, then that should be a way for me as an owner of that application. I should know what had caused that payment to fail. So any error messages which cannot be processed because of some XYZ reason are filtered out and put up in a separate queue, that is called as dead letter queue, where I, as a developer or owner of that application, I can review those details and do the troubleshooting. Are we clear? Everyone, are we clear? Next is your SWF. SWF is nothing but your simple workflow service from AWS. It is simple workflow service from AWS. Now, what is this simple workflow service? Understand in a very simple terms. Your simple workflow service is basically when you want to define the sequence in which the event should take place, workflow of your application. That is your simple workflow. For example, in this scenario, user should first add the product to the cart, then user should make payment. After payment is successful, order ID should be generated. After order ID is generated, vendor should be notified. After vendor confirms, delivery partner should be notified. Once delivery partner confirms, delivery agent should be notified. So can I say there is one well-defined sequence? It is not the case, right? The user adds a product to the cart and immediately user receives an order ID, transaction emails, and tracking URL and all of that. That's not how it works, right? There is some sequence, there is some workflow in which the application works. Agree with me? So this definition of order of execution, the definition of order of execution, right, is what you define under SWF. Is what you define under SWF. So SWF, as I say, is a workflow framework that helps to build workflow among the distributed applications, mainly coordinating the task such as execution of your dependency, scheduling, and concurrency as per the flow of application is what you can achieve using SWF. So that you can rest assured the tasks are happening in defined sequence. Mainly when you have a complex infrastructure, it becomes really difficult to manage the sequence of execution or order of execution, right? So with SWF, you can achieve this. Am I making sense what your SWF is for? Everyone, am I making sense? So SWF is nothing but like how you, when you go for your vacation, you prepare an itinerary, right? When you go for any holiday, you go for any trip, you prepare an itinerary first. Now this itinerary has what details? On day 1, I'll be visiting this place. Day 2, I'll be visiting here. Day 3, I'll be visiting here. So that you can enjoy your trip the most, correct? It can be an efficient usage of time. Agree with me? That is the purpose of having an itinerary. You can use your time efficiently. So same thing here, you can ensure efficiency of your application and performance by defining a flow of your application. So all your tasks will happen in that format or that flow. So here you have something called as workflow starter, you have something called as activity workers, and you have decider. Workflow starter will start the workflow, activity workers will do that their assigned task, and decider will check if the task is completed or not. So for example, This is a common use case of your SWF. These are how you define your task. Upload a chunk of your video data to EC2, encode that chunk. Let decider determine if the chunk is encoded or not, if it is fail or pass. Download that chunk into another S3 bucket, combine that chunk into single file and upload it back. So the requirement is this. So I can define this workflow. Upload a file to EC2. On EC2, perform encoding. If encoding is pass, then move that to another S3 bucket. If it is fail, redo the encoding. So this is how you define your workflow. Everyone, am I making sense? Can I move forward? Any doubts, any queries, any questions so far? So understand? Understand? Like this could also be a use case for your SWF. The order of execution is what you define under SWF. It is just a coordinator that okay, if user has made a payment, then if user has made a payment, then ensure order generation tool is generating an order ID. If order ID is generated, then vendor should confirm the availability. If vendor has confirmed, delivery partner to be notified. Delivery partner to arrange this order, the step-by-step sequence in which the tasks are happening is what we call it as use case of your SWF. Can I say SQS and SWF, are they integrated? They can combinedly used. They are not by default integrated. Okay, they are not by default integrated, but yes, they can be used in combination to have a better performance and easy management of your application. Madesh, is everyone clear? Can I move forward? Next is your event bridge. Okay, before I start with event bridge, do you want a break? Because I know a lot of theory is coming in today. So I just want to check with all of you. Do you want a break or we are good? I don't see people responding to that as well. Okay, couple of people are like 5 minutes of break. Few are like you can continue. All right. Let's take everyone's request into consideration. Let's take a quick break for 5 minutes. Sure. We'll have a 5 minutes of break. Don't worry. All right. So we'll meet you back in 5 minutes before I start with the next topic. Okay. We'll continue further in 5 minutes, guys. See you in 5. Hey guys, I'm back from break. Let me know once you guys are back from break. We'll continue further with our session. Is everyone back from break? Yes. So next, after understanding those four application services, next is your event bridge. Now, what does your event bridge means? What does your event bridge means? Understand in a very simple terms. When you have any kind of event happening in your AWS infrastructure, right? Or the application which is hosted on AWS infrastructure, and you want to perform certain task, certain action on basis of that event, then you can leverage this particular service called as event bridge. You can leverage this particular service from AWS called as event bridge. So it's a serverless event bus which will make it simple for you to connect to your application with data from different data sources using event bridge. Earlier this was part of your CloudWatch console, right? But with the growth, with the development of this particular service, now we have a dedicated service for your event bridge. Now a common use case, let's understand that, then we'll see some demo so that you'll all have a clarity. Let's assume that I have an EC2 instance. I have an EC2 instance. Now, what is the definition of event? What is the definition of event? Any state change, correct? Any change in infrastructure is called as an event. Agree with me? Even your login, logout is an event, correct? You log in to your AWS infrastructure or you log out of your AWS infrastructure, even that is referred as event. Yes or no? Yes. So any change, any state change is what we call it as event. Any state change is what we call it as event, right? So if there is an event that has occurred in your AWS infrastructure, so if there is an event that has happened in your AWS infrastructure, and in response to that event, you want to perform some automation, you want to take some snapshot, you want to create some, notification services, right? You want to perform some bad jobs, or you want to perform, you want to send some message to SQSQ and all of this, right? So if any event that has happened, and in response to that event, you want to perform multiple tasks or multiple actions concurrently, then you can rely on this particular service called as event bridge. For example, your EC2 instance was in running state and now it has changed its state and it has gone down and changed to shutdown state. So you want to receive SNS notification in that scenario. So you want one SNS to be sent. You want to enable backup. So you say enable backup, right? You want to send a notification for SQS. You want to run some bad job. You want to run some bad job and you want to perform some other automation. So one action, for one action, in response to that one action, when you want to perform multiple tasks concurrently, that is what you can achieve using your event bridge. Am I making sense? So any change in state is what we call it as event. So not only for EC2 service, for any AWS service, any change in state, any kind of action for which you want to perform certain, reaction, you want to perform certain thing in response, that can be achieved using your event bridge. The underlying infrastructure for your event bridge is managed by AWS. You need not worry about it. The underlying infrastructure is completely taken care by AWS, right? So before we configure event bridge, I'll quickly show you how to configure your SQS. So I say simple queue service. I'm gonna say create queue. We talked about SQS before break. So I'm creating a queue. I'm giving a name to my queue. Let's call it as demo 01 queue. Okay. And I can define how long the message should be visible and all those details, how long that message should be retained. So visibility, I can define 0 to 12 hours. I'm sorry, someone asked me, I ended up saying 24 hours. So it's not 24 hours, it is 12 hours. I stand myself corrected here. Someone asked me, what is the visibility timeline which we can set? And I said 24 hours. So I want to stand myself corrected here. It is 12 hours. Okay. So sorry for, wrong information. So it is 12 hours. So I can define that visibility timeline. I can define how long a message can be retained. It is 1 minute to 14 days. Okay. So those details you can define here. Then you can define who all can perform, or who all can publish messages to this queue. So for that, I can define my own SQS policy, right? Just telling this detail. And I need to give SQS ARN. This is my ARN for SQS. So basically allowing permission on who can publish messages in this queue. So with this, I've defined my access policy and I'm creating this queue. That's it. My SQS queue is created. Now onto this queue, any other application component can send their messages. And those who are consumers, they can consume messages. Okay. So this is your queue configuration. We will use this SQS queue along with your event bridge. Okay, allow me one moment. So we have created SQS, but before I move forward with event bridge configuration, I want to check with all of you. Are we all clear? Yes. Are we all clear? How to configure your SQS? Cool. So we'll also see how to integrate your SQS. Don't worry, eventually we'll come to that as well. Next, event bridge. So event bridge, any events for that you want to perform certain actions, you can leverage on this particular service called as event bridge. Say create rule directly, give a name to the rule. Let's call it as test rule. Test rule. And you can define event pattern. So event pattern can be predefined by AWS. Predefined pattern. For example, when I say predefined pattern for any AWS services, let's say right now I want to check for EC2. So there are certain predefined pattern. If AWS API call via CloudTrail, if there is a snapshot for your EBS, if there is a snapshot notification, volume notification, EC2 instance rebalance count, state change notification, spot instance interruption warning,
instance request fulfillment. These are all predefined events, right? For different AWS services, I have a choice here. Okay. For different AWS services, let it be your S3, let it be your RDS, let it be your EC2, let it be your, other services, you can integrate your event bridge. You can integrate your event bridge. Guys, am I making sense? What is the purpose of event bridge firstly? Yes or no? So on those services, if there is any event change, for that you can receive notifications. For that you can perform certain actions, right? Depending on your business requirement, you can define what kind of actions. You can also define your own custom pattern in a JSON format, or you can use the predefined pattern. So you have service partner events also. Events coming from third party partners of AWS like your Atlassian, Auth0, Build Hub, Bitline, Chamunda Cloud, CleverTap, Cloud AMQP, Datadog, S1, Freshwork, Genesis, Cloudless, Mackerel, MongoDB, One Login, Operator, PagerDuty, PayShield, Pillage, SailPoint, Segment, Shopify, Site 24/7, Starks, Sugar CRM, Semantic, Telium, Thundra, Whisper, Zendesk. For any of this third-party tool, if there are some events generated and you want to receive notification for that, even that is very much possible, right? It's not only with AWS services, even your third-party services. So right now we'll have demo for our AWS. So I say EC2 and I say if there is any state change notification, I want to receive a notification. Any state change. So I want to send a notification to my SNS. I want to, at the same time, if there is any state change for my, EC2, simultaneously I can invoke all of this. When I say all of this, 5 out of this, maximum 5 in one rule, 5 targets. I can invoke some API. I can invoke some API gateway. I can invoke some batch job, CloudWatch log group, code build project pipeline, create some snapshots, right? Event bus can be created. Inspector assessment template can be created. Your Lambda function can be invoked. Your Redshift cluster can be invoked. SageMaker, SQS, SSM automation. All of these are possible. Let's say I want to send a message to my SQS queue. So I'm sending a message to this particular queue. So if there is any state change for my EC2 instance, same time I should receive an SNS notification, and at the same time there should be a message in my SQS queue, right? This is what my requirement is. So for this I create a event rule. Now let us see how it works. So I'm going to quickly launch an EC2 instance because I don't have anything at the moment. And we will notice multiple state change. We will notice multiple state change. So I say launch instance, select this Linux AMI, and I'm going to launch this machine. Okay. So while I launch, obviously there would be multiple state change. Do you all agree? It will be in initialization mode. Then it will jump to running, pending. There are different states which it will go through, right? So you pay attention here. It is in pending state. So very soon we should start seeing some notifications coming in here also and in SNS also. Once the state change is done, yeah, here it is. Here it is. You notice 0 minutes ago, state running, state pending. So I have received notifications. Guys, am I making sense? My EC2 instance is changed its state. So for that, I received 2 emails. One when it was in pending state, then it jumped to running state. For that, I have received notifications. And if I go back my SQS, I click on this queue and I'll notice that there are messages in the queue as well. There are messages in the queue as well. So I'll click on send and receive messages and it says there are two messages in the queue. There are two messages in the queue. So I can poll for those messages and I can read those messages if I want. Notice this EC2 instance in this account. This is the instance ID. It has jumped to running state. This is what your SQS message looks like. It was in pending state. Now it has jumped to running state. So this is what we call it as message notifications. Now if I shut down this machine, let's say terminate, again there would be state change. Again it will trigger an email. Notice shutting down. And again there would be a new message in the queue. So I pull. You notice this is a new message shutting down. Guys, am I making sense? How it works? So simultaneously, it is doing multiple tasks. Should we give tags while creating SQS? The choice is yours. Tags are nothing but your identifiers. It is not a mandatory element. It's always your choice whether you want to give those tags or not. Then terminate it. So for any state change, I can receive this kind of notifications. I can get SQS messages. And that's what we can achieve using your event bridge. Are we all clear? Everyone? Are we clear on what your event bridge is? In JSON, how we read messages in a proper format. So what do you mean when you say proper format? Because by default, it will give in JSON format. You can click on details to check the attributes. But by default, it will be in a JSON format. Because this message has to be consumed by your other application component. No, you don't have an option where you can, convert it to normal readable English. So all you need to check is version of the message, which service it is, which account, which region, which instance. Only these options are available. So here in the event bridge, the cost is for the number of services invoked, number of, parameters invoked. Okay. So I'll show you that also. Good that Amar, you asked this. Because it purely depends on kind of services or automation which you're invoking. Okay. It purely depends on those parameters. But on a very high level, just telling you, all state change for your free tier, all state change events published by AWS are for free. But as a customer, right, AWS service events will be for free. But third party custom events or third party events or events to another AWS bus will cost you $1 per million events. Am I making sense how the cost is calculated? For invocation, it is going to charge you something. Okay. So there is an again mathematics around it. For some storage, it is going to charge you. For invocation, it is going to charge you. Then the services which you invoke for that, it is going to charge you. Right. Amar, is your question answered? Event bridge and event bus are both same. So your event bridge actually leverages your event bus to perform this activity. Event bridge is a name of a service. At the back end, it uses event bus, that if this event occurs, I want to perform this task. That is your event bus. Are we clear, Narayan? Yes. Any questions? Are we all also clear about how SQS works? So I wanted to show you demo of SQS along with event bridge. So I did not show at that point of time. Okay. But I hope now, after seeing how your SQS works, how it can be integrated with different services, you all have a better clarity. Yes. Can I now move to the next discussion, please? So deleting this queue, instance is terminated, coming back, deleting this rule. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just cleaning up my dashboard. Okay. Now that was your event bridge discussion. Next is your serverless computing. Next is your serverless computing. Okay. So I would like to keep this serverless computing for our tomorrow's session, because we have hardly some 20 minutes and we will not be able to complete this, and this is quite important. So I don't want to take this in a rush at the moment. So we'll discuss this tomorrow. Rather, right now we'll discuss the small topic, which is your step function. Okay. Is that fine with everyone? Because I want to ensure that I spend good enough time with all of you guys to discuss this serverless computing rather than being in a hurry, right? This is something which is important, you should understand well. So completing is not my intention. Ensuring you understand is my intention. So in order to ensure you all have a better experience understanding that subject, I'll keep it for tomorrow when we start fresh, so that all of you also will be able to understand things in a better way. And also it is kind of quite important topic, so we'll like to spend some good amount of time there. For now, we'll discuss this topic called as AWS step function, which is just a good to know information, not that really important. Okay. So talking about your step function is pretty much similar like your SWF. Your step function is pretty much similar like your SWF. Before I start discussing anything about step function, let me just bring up this slide. Allow me one moment. Yeah. So I want to first brief you between the differences. With your step function and your SWF, you can achieve the same. Okay. With your step function and with your SWF service, you can achieve the same. If you all understood SWF, understanding your step function should not be a big challenge, right? So it is a managed and serverless. The underlying infrastructure is managed by AWS in case of your step function. Okay. It is a managed and serverless service which supports your Lambda integration and integration with other AWS HTTP services or endpoints. Whereas your simple workflow service, It is infrastructure as a service. You have to manage the relevant infrastructure. Okay. You will have to you will have to take care of the relevant infrastructure which is created by SWF. In step function, it is managed by AWS. Second, task execution. The flow logic here is defined within the step function on your GUI itself. Whereas here, the flow logic is defined on every activity worker level. Okay. It is a CLI based. Your workflow can be defined on a GUI for user to simplify and have a better experience. Here, workflow to be defined in an application code. Here, workflow to be defined in an application code. Right? But more or less, both are doing the same thing. Remember the major difference, your step function is a managed service from AWS and your SWF is infrastructure as a service from AWS. In step function, remember in your step function, every logic or the order of execution and everything is defined on the GUI itself. Like if I say get started, so I can define here itself. I don't need to log into any server to define my workflow. Like this is what start. If it is successful, hello world example, yes, wait for 3 seconds, hello and the world. If it is not successful, end. Kind of defining a logical flow. Kind of defining a logical flow. Right? Pay attention, guys. Pay attention. So I can define that here in AWS itself. I don't need to log into any server to define my code and stuff. Okay. And whatever I'm defining as a code, I can visualize that. Whatever I'm defining as a code, I can visualize that. Right. So a pass state passes its input to output without performing work. Pass hello world example, hello world, and it will give you, is hello world example true? Yes. Then it will say pass. If it fails, not hello world. So it is kind of defining a sequence. Remember in our school days, we used to do this kind of setup. Yes or no? In our computer science in school days, we used to define this state machine. How many of you guys recall? I'm not sure, but I do personally recall we used to define this flow diagram and we defined state machine. Yes or no? The flow logic diagram is what we call it as. So that is what your step function is more about. Okay. So step by step, order by order, you can define. If this happens, yes, what should it do? If this fails, then what it should do. Right? And you can directly create state machine. So if I say start execution, this is what your step function looks like. This is what your step function will look like. Okay. Sequence by sequence, you can execute the task. Sequence by sequence, you can execute your task. You have your workflow defined, and you can notice if it is successful, it will say you yes, it is successful. If it is failure, then it will say it is failure. So step input, hello world is true. So step output, and here you can see that hello world. So by default, it is passing in this scenario. Okay. But how it works, execution input, hello world. Execution output, hello world is true. So I can say new execution. And instead of saying hello world is true, if I say fail. Okay, what was that? false, sorry, yeah. And you would notice, you see this outcome. Earlier I showed you all green. Now you notice it says failed, step output, nothing. Step input, hello world, false. So kind of your simulator. Guys, am I making sense? Everyone? Yes or no? You can quickly simulate what is the flow of your application. When you give true, what it will show you as an output. When you say false, what it will show you as an output. Now if I say start execution again, okay, sorry, where is that hello world? Here it is, right? So if I say start execution to this, so by default it was set to true. Now if I say false, then it will show me the default as false. So depends on me how I want to execute my business task, so that I can understand that if this application works, right, then this is how it will go forward. Can we define the old example of e-commerce through step function? Absolutely yes. So remember, in step function, you're completely, free of managing the underlying infrastructure. You don't have to manage the underlying infrastructure, firstly. Second, you can visualize the flow of your application. Like how I explained here, you are able to visualize, yes, this is how it will work. Agree with me? So I can pass different input. If payment success, then it will move to next step. If I say payment failed as a message, then what will happen? I can review that here. Guys, am I making sense? You noticed here, right? I showed you if the input I'm giving is this. If this is the input which I'm giving, then what happens? It shows me the path. Hello world example, yes, wait for 3 seconds, hello world executed. And here in the success code, you can notice it says succeeded. It says succeeded. Yeah. Everyone, are we clear? So you can visualize this kind of workflow depending on your business requirement. Depending on your business requirement. Next, I will also show you if I want to fail this, right? I click on this and here it failed because I gave my input as false. I gave my input as false. So you can see what input was given and what was defined. All the details you can see here so that you can modify your code accordingly. And here in step-by-step fashion, it will show you what was happened, why it failed, what is the reason why it did not execute the task. The sequence in which you have defined it has started the work in that. So input was false. So getting this input as a false, it verified the condition. If the input is false, then what next it should do? What is the choice entered? Choice entered is false. So if the choice entered is false, fail the statement, then stop the execution. And it should throw an error telling no hello world, not hello world. Venkata, is that answering your question? I think you wanted to understand where it got struck. So this is what step by step you can review. Which step did it fail at? So I think your question was more to understand that. So this execution order will help you identify your errors. So step function and your simple workflow service, I repeat myself, it is all the same. Okay, it is all the same. The only difference is in your SWF, the underlying infrastructure has to be managed by you. That is, there would be a dedicated EC2 server and all of that, which you will have to take care of. Okay, there is a dedicated EC2 server, everything that you will have to take care of. But with your step function, that is taken care by AWS, and you can directly simulate the flow. Are we all clear? Everyone? Edureka guest who said, can you repeat? Are we now clear? You notice I gave my input. It is waiting for 3 seconds. Pass. So execution input was true. So output is true. So that's how you define your step functions. Are we clear now, everyone? If someone is still not clear, please do let me know. Can I replace hello with SNS? Yes, depending on what your code, what your sequence you want to perform, you can replace it with anything else also. You can have that hello world coming in from somewhere else. That is also possible. I think your question is, can I have that hello world, coming from somewhere else? Rather than saying is hello world true or false, you can define your own order. This is where you need to define. Your code snippet should be there. Let's say you want to publish a message to SNS topic. Okay, let's say you want to publish a message to an SNS topic. So I can directly select that from here. So what I want to do, or what I want to, let's say hello from step function executed. Okay. And this is my step snippet. Send message to SNS. So this is how I can prepare for snippets for different kind of codes, and I can invoke here. I can do some event bridge, send custom message, custom event. So any of this, distributed application component can be done here. Are we clear? Everyone, if someone is still confused, please do let me know. If not, I would like to move forward. Guys, can I have your quick confirmation now? So in this step function, I can invoke multiple processors. Like I want to invoke some Lambda function. I want to send some notification. I want to do some task on containers. I want to start some others workflow. I want to send some job to Glue or other AWS services. So all of that I can define in this page itself. I can define all of that on this page itself. Like if I want to send a message to SQS, just define this here. So I need to include this snippet in my code, in my application logic. The simple task is that. Your step function and your event bridge are two different things. Don't get confused. Your step function and your event bridge are two different things. So please don't be confused with it. You can create your own step, machine, and you can start designing. Your event bridge is just to trigger events, whereas your step function is to visualize the workflow of your application. That if user gives input as this, then this will be executed. If user gives another input, then this will be executed. So if you want to visualize that while you're building your application, you want to visualize that if user says yes, then user will see this page. If user says no, then user will see that page. So this kind of visualization is possible using your step function. And same thing is possible with your SWF. But in SWF, it will be all programmatical format. Nothing to visualize, nothing to see. Am I making sense, everyone? Your step function and your AWS SWF is doing the same job. Your step function is more user friendly. So you have a lot of sample jobs already available. Okay. You can use either of them as well, just for the purpose of practicing, right? You can use any of those. So you have almost for every AWS service, there is a sample available here. Guys, are we all clear? Can I now move forward? Am I making sense? What your step function is? Your step function is no different from your SWF. It is all the same. Only difference you need to understand, your step function will give you an visualization of what your application workflow is, whereas in your SWF, it will be all in a coding format, no visualization. Now, if anyone has any question, then please do let me know. Can you include, it looks like it's an error because I just wanted to add an additional code snippet. It is not a defined code. This is just if I want to have, okay, I think you were talking about this SNS part. Where is that? Where is that? So I think you were talking of this. So why it was showing an error, please understand, this is something which you can use in your code. It is not a full-fledged example. If you want to integrate SNS in your application flow, then you can use this code snippet. Am I making sense? So you need to integrate with your logic that if this happens, then I need to send notification. This is not a full-fledged code. Understand this. This is not a full-fledged code, but this is just an example. This is Just an example. I hope I'm making sense. So yes, if hello world is true, then I need to define here. If type is pass, here they said next, wait for 3 seconds, something like that. So I need to define my code. I need to define my code. And here in the code, they have called hello and the world separately, if you notice. So likewise, I should define my state art that, okay, start at hello and start at world, both are true, then hello world is true. So I need to define that, okay, here, instead of this, I should define my own SNS. And you can also use this, like let's say, so publish an SNS, right? Topic. So now you notice, if hello world is true, I will receive a notification. Okay. I think this is what you wanted me to show, right? So now I have given this hello world is true. Pay attention. I have given hello world is true in this. If hello world is true, SNS notification. Come back here. Come back here. Let us copy this, execution input. Say start execution. Say start. So you will notice it is waiting. Step by step, we'll see this. Here itself, it is waiting for 3 seconds. Then hello world, SNS publish. So it says SNS published. Let us see if we have received. Did you notice? Is hello world true? Is hello world true? I received this notification. Are we clear? How I can integrate within my application component? Does it make more sense now? So if hello world is true, then send a notification. So I can visualize this right here. And that's what we have seen now. Venkata, is your question answered? So that is your step function. Now, if anyone still has any questions, doubts, queries, then please let me know. If not, I think yes, that's it from my side. I hope you all understood this step function part also very clearly. We had a detailed demo for this. Any questions from anyone? No questions? All right, if no further questions, then I think yes, we are done with our today's session. Thank you so much for all your time and patience. I really appreciate it. I wish you all a great evening, great day ahead. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye. Take care. Signing off for the day, guys.